The future is now. We've put together a journey map, and we've also selected a very curated list of experts. So we're encouraging you to really sit back, enjoy, and then let's have a very strong conversation.
We're on for the long haul, and we're constantly bringing out tools that enable you to be ready and address the potential you have, rather thinking about features. What does the bank look like for a young, up-and-coming professional?
You being able to offer your customers services using existing platforms. Those are some of the thinking around, bank of the future.
My mother was a very famous radio announcer many, many years ago. And when I was a little child, at the age of 4, she used to take me, she was a single mother, she used to take me with her to work. And when I used to go to inside the studio, I would be with her until the time she would go on air. And at that time, there was always a guy standing at the door, pointing to the microphone and to me and saying, "It means she's gonna start to talk, get out." And I hate that thing. Since that time. You see, it pays me back.
The ghost in the microphone.
Yeah, so thank you for bearing with my little story. But to go back to data, I think data is king, and I agree with everything that is said, especially my friends in FairMoney. I'm really impressed with what they do with data. Not that I know exactly what they do, but what I think they do, because they're really smart. But I'll tell you only one thing, for the benefit of the audience, really, more than yours, Antonio. Most people look at data to learn what has happened, and very few look at data to predict the future. So here on the table next to you, the gentleman in blue, he's our chief data officer, and he does not touch any past data. Past data is with business intelligence people. He focuses purely on the future. So that would be my advice to people in the room. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm having microphone problems again too as well. So that's actually a fantastic point Kamal made, because I was going to get to that. Let me ask a question. Do you guys know the largest retailer of Mars chocolate bars in the world? Mars chocolate bars. Mars. Anybody knows who the largest retailer is? Any guess? You see, everybody keeps saying Walmart. I used to be an SAP consultant. I'm one of the few people who studied SAP in school for my master's. And, they came up, we were doing SAP BI at that time, SAP SEM. So they always ask this question, at the beginning of the course, and everybody says Walmart. But guess what? The largest retailer of mass chocolate bars in the world is Shell. And Shell only found out, from Shell, after they implemented Shell BI, they just saw this item. Wait a minute, they're selling billions of this item. What's this? Mars knew, but Shell did not know. Wow. Mars knew, Mars negotiated all those deals. So data is a very, very interesting thing. It allows you to do crazy things that other people will not know. So, and the most important data, as Kamal said, is the one about unknown unknowns and known unknowns, not necessarily the known knowns. Okay? So, the way you use that data is very, very important. I remember I gave a speech at the FirstBank event some years back, And I was telling them that, look, the startup that I, gained the most knowledge from when it comes to financial services was a healthcare startup. It wasn't even a fintech startup. I was on the board of a health tech startup. The data that I saw there made me understand women in rural Ghana more, and the reason why they are unbanked than any other thing. So a healthcare startup made me understand the people better. There are some guys in Ghana who, I think they opened 162 outlets in 1 year, and I was wondering how this guy is doing it. Because they started looking at our census data, they started looking at mapping data to know where people are moving to, where people are clustered. So these guys plan, far ahead of others. They open an outlet every week because they've already seen the data. They know where to go. I remember when MTN launched in Nigeria, the CTO then was my friend, Demola Lesho. He had a map on the floor in his office, a war map. Had the, data clusters of Nigeria. Okay, this is where we are going to next. That's where and I think that's the way we should start approaching businesses. All of that data is there, but a lot of people are not using it. And it's not just internal data, external data too as well. Thank you.
No, thank you. This is really, really interesting. If I start tying this together, I'm just going to make a few assumptions here. So, one, it's not about doing everything. It's about playing to your strengths. It's about knowing where you are in the journey. From a leadership point of view, it's about minimizing the business distractions and making sure that you focus on your strengths. When I think about data, what I hear, it is an important currency. It helps you to do a lot of amazing things, make decisions operationally. It lets you see what you're doing, what you've done, how you report, how you predict, and where you are. But also, it starts now giving you intelligence of where you need to be. It gives you more insight. It eliminates some of the fog. So, in a way, I kind of think about, as a financial institution and maybe some leaders in the audience, the things that I'm encouraged, what I hear is, don't try and build up big tech teams. Start thinking about how do you build up your data scientists. Think about who is the one in your organization to take the data. What I heard earlier on, Adewale say, we're collecting all this data, we've got name badges, but how do you start bringing that data into a functional things? There's lots of great tools like AI and so forth, but how do we start capturing? This is, for me, this is great. I'm going to lead into the next question, and I think we'll after this question, we'll open up to the floor. But my next question is, how do we play nicely? Open banking. Now, this is a hot topic globally. In Europe, it's very, very strong. It's getting more and more traction, from my perspective, in Asia. And in Nigeria as well, it's becoming a very big discussion. So maybe to start off is, what does open banking maybe mean for you? And how do you feel about it? Very positive, very negative? Is it something that we need to embrace? Is it something we need to be cautious from? A little bit, and what are some practical ideas that you have that you'll see coming up in the near future, either in your business or within the industry? I'll start from this side.
Okay, so for us, we're very bullish on it, right? Majorly because we are also doing some expansion. Open banking helps you to move across, right, borders, because the data.
When you say borders and expansion, you mean Pan-Africa?
Yeah, like, for example, the countries that we expanded into, for example, open banking can easily help us to build without having to do many customizations, because the data sets are maybe similar sometimes, and the likes, and also helps us to manage on that front, right? So we're literally very bullish on that. And I think it has come to stay. I think it will just gradually, people will just gradually find their way into that process, while also being careful around protection, regulation, and everything, protecting people's data and the likes.
So it's effectively helping you expand quicker.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Just like, new trends, AI and machine learning, deep learning, open banking is, it's a revolutionary idea, right? Specifically, it's basically to help you securely share data. And as it relates to banking, so that you can offer more, you can offer better services to your customers. In practical terms, what you see us doing already with open banking is expanding the finance options. So as a bank, you're not just limited to providing payment services. You see integrations with insurance to offer insurance services. You see integration with other sectors, right? And you offer, so you were able to expand your services with open banking. You're also able to collaborate with other, even non-financial providers. You are able to, for example, you can have embedded banking in some even non-financial products, right? You can work closely with, take for example, taxi hailing apps, and in there you can make payments. You can even have some sort of wallets, right? Through AP banking and sharing.
Embedded finance.
Embedded finance, yeah. So to answer your question, we did talk about how data, I did mention also how data relates to the concept of open banking, because that's the foundation. It's majorly you being able to share, data securely now through APIs, right? And making sure that these APIs are standardized and can be assessed. You have the documentation there, etc. So for me, that's it. It's revolutionizing the financial industry, helping us to expand, the scope of offerings. And basically that's it. Thank you.
Kamal?
Quickly, just I just want to make 3 points, even though I will try not to repeat what my colleague has said. Today's customer needs cannot be met with your data only or with your capacity only. Customers need, in those olden days, every banks try to create product, and once they create products or another product, or say every banks actually try to replicate it. But for today's customer needs, they want it now. Those capabilities, and they want it now. So open banking allows you to collaborate with other parties in order to service your customer better. And also to protect you too. That's number one. Number two, just like the way we are discussing about cloud and on-premise, our cloud has actually lowered the barrier to entries into technology. Open banking also lowers the barrier to entry into banking. If you are to start now and said, I'm starting a microfinance now or a bank now, and I will use current capability, human beings, RMs to structure to go and acquire customers, you find problems in scaling up. How long will it take you to make 1,000? How long will it take you to make 1 million customers in your books? So that's open banking with collaboration with other partners, whether it's a retailer, whether it's another bank, whether it's another fintech and all those ones. Open banking lowers that capability, which is quite important for scaling and for growth. The last one, which I also mentioned earlier briefly, is that it's another source of revenue lines. So we now have 3 types of revenue lines: interest income, non-interest income, and data income via open banking. So it's important. For any serious, you need to be able to do that. The government of Nigeria recognizes it, and that's why they also put in open banking framework alongside to guide in there. These days, there's no island. You cannot survive on an island. It's just going to be on the collaborative. Collaborations powered by a common framework called open banking. Thank you.
I think it's being covered.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, just what I need to add, because, you know, I think I have a very, very different view about open banking, the way we keep trying to do it in Africa. We talk about open banking based on the standards that, you know, regulators and all of those other guys tell us. But if you really, really look at it, I think the only place I've seen open banking really being done was in South Africa. A friend of mine grew up banking. The guy woke up one day and said, okay, look, you know what? Everybody is focusing on verticals. You know, he wants to be able to create specialists in horizontals. So he open sourced everything. You know, he paid for people to build, then open sourced, you know, his entire stack. Okay, so that people can actually, you know, leverage on where their strengths are. Okay, to actually build capacities across the industry. And I feel that's what will make it really, really open. Not, okay, oh, I have this, okay, you take this, and all of, you know, like, you know, I come from the open source space, and I believe a lot in open source, because I was looking at what you were saying earlier about, you know, when you were talking about your custom code, you know, and all of that, when you said, okay, you wanted to invite people to come build. So are you going to set up sandboxes? Are you going to, you know, open source that too as well? You know.
So we won't be open sourcing it, but what we are doing is we provide sandboxes. So, and that's the very much is try before you buy. You've got to know what you're getting into. For me particularly, why that's important, because it's a start of an adventure. As a core provider, we're on the adventure of everything discussed today. So one, you've got to build a core banking system. You've got to have a core banking to manage your crown jewels, the data that you have. What's the details that you have? Then you need to be able to then innovate with all that data you start having. You need to be able to have reports and so forth. So for me, that's an entire adventure that we're going to. We're compressing like more than a decade's work in a few discussions. But what I see is you let everyone come in, but then you can't control everything. You can't be everything for everyone. So you've got to be the specialist of a certain area, but it allow customers, clients, banks to do what they want to do, how they want to do it. And you need to give them the tools to do that. But more so, no man's an island. Everyone has to work very well with each other because it's about the client. And traditionally, what I've seen in most countries, including Nigeria, all the tier 1 banks are recycling the same 10 million clients. Everyone's got 4 or 5 bank accounts. How do you grow the economy? How do you become more inclusive? You've got to go beyond those 10 million. You've got to go well beyond. Like you mentioned, it's about this horizontal. How do you bring healthcare services? How do you bring embedded finance? Because the individual on the street, they have different financial needs at different times. And like someone once said to me, a friend and a customer, George, he said, financial services must be as easy as breathing oxygen. It must be seamless. And we as financial institutions need to figure out how to make that seamless. Technology plays an important part of it. So if you ask me, open banking is really important, but it's not just plug and play, do I participate, do I not? It's how do I actually interpret this landscape? Am I expanding into other Pan-African markets? I know that FairMoney is because it wants to change its outlook on how it's growing. It's growing at a phenomenal rate and have a certain business strategy. How do I use that data to be able to assess things? How do I onboard? How do I make that asset? These are all components of open banking. And I believe what's really important about this, it's a leadership discussion around strategy. Where are we going? Because the world is 365 degrees. It's 24 hours a day. Financial services should be as easy as breathing. So for me, all these topics are very much centered around playing nicely with everyone, making sure you have the right partners to be able to enable you to do that. So when you're deciding your strategy, you can go out and execute. And that's the competitive edge, is who's got the right strategy to capture and grow the market. Not win one market over another. You know, you're not fighting. It's about, at this stage where we are in emerging market, it's about holistic inclusion. First inclusion within Nigeria, and then how it's inclusive across West Africa, and then it's the entire continent. Finally, global. It is global market. So that's my view. Thank you very much. I'm going to open up for a short set of questions, if we have any questions, and then we'll wrap up. So it's been a very, very powerful conversation. But if we have not any questions, then we'll move along because we've gone a little bit over schedule. Dear panelists, thank you very much. Very, very insightful. Round of applause. Thank you.
Okay. There are questions.
Oh, we have a question. Sorry. Oh, thank you.
So I think we've been going around the entire topic, just talking from the core banking provider's perspective and the bank's perspective. I want to speak a bit about the client's perspective, right? I mean, I use my banking application almost every day, and it seems like we've gotten to a point where...
You put your mic closer.
Yeah, we've gotten to a point where all the banks are providing exact products at this point. I was just thinking, okay, I'm a young person. I have more financial needs than the banks are providing at this point. What is the bank? What does the bank of the future look like? At least digitally for me. I don't plan to enter into a bank branch for the rest of my life, I think. So, what does the bank of the future look like to me, right? How would you define that kind of banking for me? Because that is what every young person thinks about, and we are the majority of people you are banking today.
Yeah. So what does the bank look like for a young, up-and-coming professional?
Okay, if I may take that. So you're right. It's a crowded space, and typical of a crowd, you will find out that you know, you're seeing almost the same thing, right? Even if it's not the same, it's a crowd, right? But from engaging customers, and it's not from today. It's been a while back. You've been seeing banks talk about building the bank of the future, right? And mainly what you see, it's you know, something that would allow you to just interact with the bank without necessarily having to speak to a teller or anything. But it's gone beyond that, right? And I would say from recent engagements and research and what is being done by banks or what we are doing, it's to provide you banking services without necessarily having to go out of spaces, and I'm using the word spaces, application devices that you're already used to. Antonio did mention some of the future upgrades in Oradian, right? About being able to work with third parties and you being able to offer your customers services using existing platforms. Those are some of the thinking around, bank of the future, where you don't have to have an access app, FBN app, different kind of apps, where you can conveniently, from whatever, application that you're used to, be able to enjoy virtually all the banking services, where, traditional issues of you've made this transfer is not being seen will become a thing of the past. And we're already getting there, right? One of the players in the industry recently came about with, is a technology that's been there, in-app notification. And because of that, that singular, I would say, implementation, because it's really not an innovation, right? Drove volumes for that particular, bank, I would say, such that you do your transaction now, you see the notification immediately, right? You are able to go into a store and you are able to immediately just, buy things without necessarily even having to hold your card. All this is all embedded within your device, within spaces that you're already used to, and you're not learning new solutions. For us, that's how we are thinking about it, especially for, I would say, young people and young professionals. I want to believe like you, right? I don't know if I answered that. Thank you.
Let me add a little bit more. Let me add a little bit more. I believe colleagues from FairMoney and Renmoney will be able to do it. To me, and to the future, which I see, you see less of banks, but you will need more banking. And I will explain. You require more financing, but less of finance houses. Most of your payments that you'll be doing will now be ubiquitous. That is, payments anywhere, anytime, and not necessarily tied to your own bank or bank wallet. You see more freedom in transacting, in paying for bills all over Africa without this necessary condition of moving from one to the other and all those ones. And that's where I see universal wallets. You need something to buy, to pay for it, you'll be able to get embedded financing, either embedded payments or embedded financing. And you see that even that is actually happening. Apple Wallet that is there, you can actually, whether you're in the store, whether you're using it to pay for an app on the store, or whether you're using it to pay for an app on them. If you go to Ghana, Ghana spends cedis, we spend naira. But really, you just need to exchange value. So the focus will actually be on the value. So you are now seeing more of universal wallet now, Pan-African wallets that people are actually coming to do it there. So money itself is actually going to be decentralized. And the way cryptocurrency is done here in Nigeria, that we're using it, even though we're using it as a store of value and we're using it as an investment vehicle, it's coming back that, no, it's going to go into a world where you can easily use it to pay. Whether you want to pay bill, or whether you want to pay bill, or whether you want to pay for goods and services. So that's actually where I see banking. You will hear less of Naira or less of US dollar. But the key thing is that you will hear that a lot of coins that you do have for you to be able to do it. And there's actually going to be much more freedom. You'll be able to do that one. That's actually number one. Two, we're also seeing controls on, anything that you can put into financial system, you can easily trace it and you can easily control it. In the olden days, our parents used to say, oh, I have a bunch of banana, you have a bunch, a pack of orange. So let us do exchange of value. And I think that exchange of value coming in, maybe in crypto form, will actually come in much more readily in there. You have a value, maybe your skills. Normally, if you have, like now, let's say you're a developer now, and all those stuff, I'm a businessman, I'm an e-commerce platform. The only way we can use to exchange exchange your own value with my own is through a fiat currency. You work for me for a month, I give you salary, you deliver my value for me. But I think that is actually going to be much more blurred. You negotiate salary, but you really cannot even negotiate the value exchange. If I expect you to work for 30 days and I give you a task to do, let's say in 30 days, you're expected to do a 30 task. But because I put you on fixed salary, if you do more than that, you're not compensated. If you do lesser than that, I'm actually not charging you because of that one. So if we go beyond direct value exchange that we'll be able to do, you see money going into that one. Now, and it is happening in Nigeria anyway, let me tell you. Now we now have some sort of alternate bank. I'm a landlord. My own is just to collect rent from you. People are now coming up and saying the bank, there's nothing like a universal bank again, just to say a landlord bank. It's happening. Sterling is actually doing it anyway. So you collect it and all those things for me. So you see, less of universal banks, but specialist bank tailored to customers' need. And one good thing that FinTech is actually doing is that they're not going for all customers again. They're just going for a specific segment to mine that specific segment, which gives much more focus and then much more better customer services. That's the way I see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor, very quickly, I'm getting pushed that we're over time.
Thank you very, very much, Wale and Antonio. Just something for me to add. There's this guy, Hal Varian, was chief economist at Google. He said, if you want to know what people will do tomorrow or use tomorrow, look at what the wealthy people today, are using. So that gives you an idea of what's going to happen tomorrow. Nubank in Brazil, I met them when they were about 3 million customers. They had 11 million waiting. Now there are 100 million customers. Only one product. And Wale is right, because they're going to be more specialized. They had just one credit card product. They don't have the full banking services. Just one product. But the difference is that the service behind that product is so good that it's as good as what a private bank customer will have. They are giving a private bank customer service to a retail customer. So, and because of that, they've differentiated themselves so much that they've grown to 100 million customers. They're the biggest fintech in the world now. So I think that's what's going to keep happening. And that kind of specialization and extreme services. And goes back to what I was saying earlier about building horizontal capabilities. Once you just have all those specialized layers, it's very, very easy for you to also provide specialized services to people. And that's what's going to happen in the future. Thank you.